All right, welcome everybody to the Salt Lake Business Podcast. I'm here with the one and only Jimmy Rex, Mr. Jimmy Rex, the Rex Real Estate Team. For all the 3 to 5 people who don't know who you are in the Salt Lake Valley, could you give them an origin story of how you came to be and about who you are?
Yeah, so I grew up in Utah, went to high school at Murray, and went on an LDS mission to Mexico. Came back. It was funny. I just wanted to be a waiter. I wanted to do something where I could interact with a lot of people. I've always liked to just interact with people, but I wouldn't work Sundays, so nobody would hire me. So I took a job. Actually, I interviewed for a bunch of sales jobs, and I ended up selling steak and chicken door to door. And it was funny, when I went in for the interview, the guy was like, he explained basically, we get the case for this amount, anything over that you get to keep as profit. And I remember I went out my first day, I was so excited, I didn't know how I was gonna go or anything. And when you're a kid, you kind of always want to, you want to like make money when you're older, you want to have a good career, you don't know how that's gonna look. Mm-hmm. And that day forever changed my life, because I went out and I started, I think, at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. By 11:30, I'd sold it all, like 6 full cases of steak, and had made pretty close to $250-300. And my whole life changed, because I realized my worst case scenario, I could make 6 figures selling steak and chicken door to door. So here I am, like 21-year-old kid, and I'm just like, wow. So I started running with that. I actually ended up starting my own meat business. I would throw big steak parties down in Provo. I had a condo I bought down there. That was my first foray with real estate. I just knew I wanted to buy real estate. I don't really know anything else about it other than you get wealthy buying real estate.
Right.
So I bought a condo, and I bought one that had like a backyard, and I would put my freezers, I'd plug them all in the backyard. Like, our electric bill was like $300 a month. I was making my roommates like split it with me. But we would, I had all my sales guys, we'd throw these steak parties. That's how I got all my guys. They'd be like, who the heck is, serving steaks at a just random barbecue? And they're like, oh, Jimmy has a steak company. And so I'm at 21. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't charging sales tax. I was probably on my way to prison if I had kept up that charade. But I was just hustling. I was just like, I'll figure this out on the go. And I ended up partnering back with the guy that originally hired me, this guy from the Netherlands named Herman. And long story short, we were rolling, we were making a couple $1,000 a day profit. And but he, I didn't know he had a drug problem. And so long story short, we were going to franchise it to this guy in St. George, this guy named, what the hell was that guy's name? Anyway, and but Herman took his money, 35 grand, but disappeared for like 2 weeks, went on a drug binge. I couldn't get a hold of him, nobody could get hold of him, his family couldn't get a hold of him. And meanwhile, I'd bought another real estate property, and he was living in it. And so I was like, I ended up getting stuck. Like, by the time he came back, the money was all gone. He'd gone on this horrible drug binge. And this was after like 2 years of selling meat. And I realized I can't do this. But what I had done that was smart is, in the meantime, I got my real estate license. And I kind of tried it for like 6 months. It was about halfway through when I was doing the meat. So this was like a year before that. Mm-hmm. I was kind of dabbling in it for about 6 months, but it wasn't really going anywhere. Sold a couple houses. Didn't know what I was doing. And so right before the whole thing hit the fan with Herman, I had gotten a flyer in my desk about this workshop for real estate agents. It was from a guy named Mike Ferry, who's very famous in the real estate world. He's like the top real estate coach ever. I didn't know this at the time. I never heard of him. So I go to the seminar, and day one, I hear they give us this homework. I went home and did it, and it worked. I got a couple of good leads. I'm like, oh, this is how you do real estate. And the next day I went and, day 2, I did the homework, got a couple more leads. I'm like, wow, this actually works. Day 3, they had, this is where they pitched their coaching. So it was $1,000 a month, 12-month commitment. I mean, at the time, that was more than I was paying for my condo mortgage. I didn't have $2,000 by my name, but I knew I had to do it. I had to take this plunge. And so for whatever reason, I just threw my hat over the fence. I told the guy, I'm like, look, I want to sign up for this, but I don't have any money. If you'll hold this for like 3 weeks, I have a deal closing and I can pay you. And so they did. And by the end of that first year, about a month after that is when Herman came and told me what had happened. And so I got stuck with all that debt, by the way. So I had about 120 grand debt.
Damn.
We'd gotten bank loans. We had bought these big walk-in freezer, these big diesel trucks. So, I got stuck with about total, between paying that guy in St. George back and everybody else, I had to pay about 120 grand debt. And so I threw my hat over the fence with that debt, and just, you know what it's like. You're in Utah, Mormon kid growing up, like, you hear just never have debt. By 21, I've accumulated over 100 grand in debt, like this terrible, I'm just like, oh my gosh, they were going to want to go on a date with me.
No college degree.
Oh yeah, nothing, dude. Every person I knew cumulatively didn't have as much debt as I did at my age. And so I was just like, wow. But anyway, I signed up for that coaching program. It was exactly what I needed. I dove in 100%. I started working 70, 80 hours a week. And that year, by the end of that first year, again, my first 6 months, I'd sold like 6 homes. By the end of that year, I'd closed 60 homes, and I was the regional rookie of the year for the entire Western United States. I got some really cool opportunities with mentorship and leaders that wanted me to they wanted to take me under their wing because they saw the hustle and everything. And that next year, I closed 98 homes, and I was one of the 2 finalists for Salesperson of the Year on the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. Wow. And from there, I put a poster board behind my wall in my bedroom where no one else would see it, had all the debts that I owed. And every month when I'd close another couple houses, I would cross off as I paid those down. It took me about 1.5 years to pay them down. But that's kind of how I got started in real estate. It's kind of a long story, but it kind of, the best thing that ever happened to me was that Herman stealing that money and me having that debt, because I was so backed up into a corner that I had a huge why to make it work with real estate, a huge motivation. I had to get rid of that debt. And it ended up working out really well. And that's kind of how I got my start into real estate.
So I know you had a strong why, but I mean, I'm a real estate agent as well. I think my first year I did 6 or 10 transactions. How'd you do 60? I mean, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had the hustle. I had the work ethic. I was willing to go 12-hour days. I started at 7 a.m. every day. I would role play my scripts. I would memorize scripts. I would literally chant them in my shower. I had them laminated in my shower. And then I'd just get on the phones from 8 to noon. I'd go on a lunch appointment with somebody. And then I was on appointments and following up with leads all day long up until the end of the night. And so at the time, the one thing that was really nice, it was 2005, 2006 is when so I started in 2005. So that was 2006. And the market was kind of going crazy. A lot of homes were being sold. I mean, anyone could qualify for a home. You could get zero down on investment properties. You could get zero down on any house. So my job was to talk to as many people as I could and get in the way as many of these transactions as I could. So, I would just talk to 50 or 60 people a day. I knew what to say because of the training the coaching I signed up for.
Right. And
I just did it all day. And, when I first started calling, for example, for sell by owners, I'd get 1 out of 70 would give me an appointment. Well, within a couple of years, I was getting 1 out of 12. I got really good at it because I was doing it so often, and I was really motivated to be the best at it.
Mm-hmm. So those first 2 years, what year was that when you had?
It was 2006 was my year 1, and then 2007 was year 2.
Okay, so fast forward to right now. Where are you? What's your scale right now?
Yeah, so last year in 2019, my team we just won the award for the top team in Keller Williams in Utah. We sold 324 homes in Utah. My team sold 324 homes. About half of those were in Utah, half were in, we call them branched out markets, basically. We do a lot of investment deals in Florida and in Memphis, Tennessee. And so we sold, in Utah, again, if you include all the homes that we sold total last year with our group, we sold 324 homes.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's pretty fun, man. It was a good year.
Yeah. So how does it, so it sounds like you're kind of investor centric as well. What's the makeup of your team?
Yeah, no, we deal with everything. We sold 150 homes in Utah, which was just the average person buying or selling a home. We didn't sell many investment properties in Utah, to be honest. It's Utah had an awesome run from 2011 to 2018. I probably sold 40 or 50% of the homes I sold were investment properties here in Utah. But the numbers don't make as much sense here now as they do in some of the other areas. And so what happened is I had all these investors that wanted to buy real estate, but I couldn't honestly sell them a deal that did cash flow well. So me and my team, Tyler Bennett, who's just, he's a wizard with real estate. This guy's been in real estate for 15 years as well, and he's sold over 5,000 investment properties. And so Tyler joined my team 3 years ago. He's one of my best friends. And we researched every market across the country. We were looking for 2 things: cities that had growth capabilities and that already had really good cash flow. And essentially we found a couple that were better than anywhere else, which was Orlando and Memphis. And so, we're buying homes right now. You know what it's like in Utah. You can buy townhomes like $315,000 and you can't even cash flow it unless you're putting 25-30% down. Even then you're probably breaking even.
Right.
And so we to contrast that in Orlando, we buy a house, a single family home, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house for $185, rents out for $1,500. So, there's $300-400 of cash flow. And so we just looked for the best opportunity for our clients. And we're very quick to just adjust whatever we need to do with the market. So last year, of course, we sold a lot of properties. We sold over 180 homes out of the state of Utah. That's where the opportunity was for our clients.
Awesome. So you're saying you're constantly looking for new opportunities. Is this like a once a year thing, once every 6 month thing? How do you know when we want to pivot?
Yeah, I mean, most real estate agents, unfortunately, it's really easy to get into real estate. And so a lot of agents get in and they just kind of coast from there. I mean, you get the deals that come to you, you get your family and friends and stuff like that. And for me, I've always tried to like get that edge from day one, you know? And so, I mean, when I was at the peak of my career in 2012, I left for a year and went to Arizona to get my master's in real estate development from Arizona State. I wanted to get the next level. And then we started working with REITs, real estate investment trusts, and we started selling them homes. And then we started understanding more about the investment properties. And I just always am trying to stay ahead of the game. Like even doing my podcast, I'm 186 episodes in now. I started that before they kind of blew up. I just was keeping a pulse. I have some friends that are very intelligent humans, and I have a lot of conversations with these people that are really smart, and they tell me stuff like they tell me before it popped about Bitcoin, they talked about podcasting before it came out. There's new things they're talking about all the time. And so I just try to surround myself with people that are much smarter than myself. And then I soak in all their information, get very good at listening to those people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason for this podcast is like, I'm like podcast being like Joe Rogan and Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So like Joe Rogan's when I go to sleep, when I can just like wind down.
That's great.
Gary Vee just pumps me up in the middle of the day and, in the morning. And he's like, you need to start a podcast. I'm like, all right.
It's funny that you mentioned Gary Vee because I had the idea for a podcast about 4.5 years ago. I said this would be a perfect way to build my network and to establish myself as the expert in Utah. And I started doing a lot of things that were doing that. And I had the idea with the podcast, but I was sitting on it. And then Gary Vee had a post that I watched or whatever, a video or something. And he talked about it. He said, look, you just have to start. Like, you're not going to be great at it when you start. That's okay.
Yeah.
You get good by doing it, right? And in the book, there's a book that came out last year. It was my favorite book last year called Atomic Habits. And he talks about this professor that had a photography class. And in the class, he gave half the class, the assignment was whoever, they just had to come up with, their entire grade was going to be based on their best photo, just any one photo that was their best one. The other half was going to be based on how many photos they took. And he said that almost without fail, every single person whose job was to take more photos had a better number one photo than the person that focused on getting that one great shot. And he said the whole reason for that is because you get great by doing it. So the people that were kind of over here trying to wait till it was perfect, they didn't get as good of a shot as the people that were out doing it all the time. So it's just a fascinating way to look at it. So same thing with the podcast, right? Like,
it's called the Jimmy Rex Show, right?
The Jimmy Rex Show, yep. And so every week we come out with a new episode. The one that was this week is a guy by the name of Dan Quinn. He was a hero in the military. He's a Green Beret, and he kind of had this falling out with the military when he rescued a kid that was a sex slave of one of their Afghan partners in the Afghan military that was partnered with the U.S., and they basically kicked the guy's butt and kicked him out of camp, but had some issues with the military. Next week, it's Dean Graziosi, who's one of the biggest influencers in the world.
Yeah.
I've been able to get some really amazing guests, and it's been awesome. And we've got several million downloads and views now, and it's just been fun to do. Yeah, but all those things that I tell everybody, like whether it was with real estate, whether it's with my podcast, whether it's with throwing events, whatever it might be, just start doing it, and you'll get better as you go. You've experienced this, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the first episode, I ordered all the equipment, had the thing, and then we got there and the cable wasn't long enough, so we couldn't use the audio. So we were like in an echoey room, could barely hear us.
Dude, I had an episode like 30 episodes ago, and the room seemed normal, and then I listened back. It was with Haloti Ngata. That guy's gonna be an NFL Hall of Famer. I ended up climbing Mount Kilimanjaro we shared a tent together, and I did the podcast, and it's like echoey. I'm like, how the hell did that echo? Like, and even the one I just did with Dan Quinn, he was in a weird spot, and so my portion of the audio is not perfect. But here's the thing: it's like people get caught up with that. I have people. I'm putting out so much material all the time, and I have people that will literally write me messages like, "Hey, you misspelled that word." And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
yeah,
I'm just putting out good stuff. If you're getting caught up in those details, you're never gonna get anything done.
So you have so much time to write a comment saying you misspelled this word.
Right? It's like they're getting caught up in all the wrong things. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I've probably misspoken 3 times on this podcast. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. So you're on almost approaching episode 200 with your show. So I'm sure when you started the inception, you had an idea of what it was, and then I'm sure after almost 200 episodes, it kind of evolved into what it is today. So what did you think it was going to be, and then what did it naturally end up being?
Dude, if this isn't crazy, it's almost exactly what I envisioned it wanting it to be.
Really?
Yeah. So I always, I said to start out, I had amazing friends. Like my first 5 episodes is like. Trevor Milton's one of my best friends. He runs a $3 billion company. He started from scratch 5 years ago called Nikola Motors. I had Dave Bateman, who founded Entrada Software. It's got 2,000 employees in Utah. close to $1 billion company. I had Tim Ballard, who founded Operation Underground Railroad. I had Sean Ray as the Attorney General of Utah, and I had like Sean Whalen, who is a huge influencer on Facebook and Instagram. These are close friends of mine, and so I started it with that. And I picked my 15 most influential friends because they would all share with their audiences. And so right away, we got a lot of attention. I had a lot of great guests I stacked at the beginning. And then what's been cool is as I reach out to the people, and a lot of people reach out to me now, like Robin Sharma, who wrote one of my 10 favorite books of all time, The 5 a.m. Club. He reached out to me to be on the podcast after I got a couple other big names on, Bill Berg, and a couple other guys like that. And then, John Assaraf, who talks about dream boards on the movie The Secret. And that's a dude that changed my life 15 years ago. I watched The Secret and made dream boards and stuff. And those people reached out to me. And then I've been reaching out, I'm doing an interview next week with Prince EA. And I got a couple other big ones like that coming up. And just, I really wanted it to be like have the most influential people in Utah, and then I wanted to eventually start pulling in people national, and honestly that's what it's become. So I'm loving it. It's a fun thing to do, and it's honestly it's about exactly where I envisioned it being.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of what I envisioned with mine too. I'm reaching out with like the highest people I can go up the chain, and then hoping it spreads and just get more people down the line.
That's cool.
So for you, I don't know. You seem like such like a down to earth normal guy, right?
I think that's what I am.
Yeah, you are for sure. And you're doing like all extraordinary things. Like when I think like business people, I think like, I don't know, because I'm always stressed out. But it's like, the guy like go, stressed out. I don't have too much time. But like you're actually like accessible and can get to you and like totally down to earth. So like how do you stay in that mentality and that frame and not get, you have so much going on, but not get so overwhelmed?
Yeah, a couple things. One is I don't need my life to be anything. I quit having expectations of what my life had to look like. So I have a vision for what I want my life to be, but like at the end of the day, my expectation is just, I know like every single day I'm just being better than the day before, right? So I don't have to make my life easy. So I don't put this weird pressure on me to, like when I was younger, I did that a lot. In my 20s, the biggest mistake I made in my 20s is, growing up LDS, I had this thought that I had to be married. I had to be married to, by the time I was 25, I literally at 29, I was like the top realtor in the county. I was like just killing it in every aspect of life, except I felt like a failure because I had this expectation that if I wasn't married, it meant I was a failure. And I kind of went through this transition where I got to really, strip myself of some of those, call them cultural beliefs or things that, weren't real, that these expectations I had put on myself. And I just got rid of all of them. And I said, I'm just going to enjoy my life. And so I have a new vision for my life. I went to Tony Robbins' event, Date with Destiny, 4 years ago. You spend an entire week coming up for a vision for your life. And I came up with one that literally gave me chills when I knew it as soon as I said it. And I'll just say it for the purpose, but the purpose of my life is to share my tremendous love with all of God's children, bringing happiness to others through my playful soul and by being an example of living an extraordinary life. So as long as I'm being true to that vision and that mission, then I know I'm fine. And so like you said, like, how do you have time? Like, because I do try to mentor a lot of people. I try to help a lot of people. I try to speak when I get asked, all these different things. And, you do have to learn to say no. Otherwise, you start building other people's visions and not your own. Mm-hmm. It's the most important word in the English language. I actually say no quite a bit if it's not something that it fits in with my alignment. But I always say, I had so many people that mentored me still, that reached down to me when I was just, still nobody. I had nothing to offer them at that time. And so I say for every person that, that I reach up to still to this day, I try to reach down and help somebody else. And that way it keeps that nice, balance of karma in your life.
Sure. And it sounds like you're a person who likes to give back. I know you recently just came out with a book. What was the premise behind that? How did that come to be, and how long did it take you to?
Yeah, so I had an idea. I actually, I'm close friends with a girl named Bea. She's dating Tim Ferriss for the last couple of years. So I had the opportunity last New Year's Eve to spend New Year's Eve, New Year's Day with them. And Tim Ferriss is my number one favorite author, number one favorite podcaster at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I got to talk to him for about 90 minutes, just him and I talked to him about, some of the ideas that I had. In his book, Tribe of Mentors, he basically interviewed 100 of these super successful people in the world with the same 7 questions. He put it all in a book, and it's beautiful. Like, I love reading that book. And I kind of had the idea, like, what if I did this with real estate agents? Then I said, even better, I want to help the newer agents. Like, when I started out in real estate, like, my training, I went into my broker day one, and I went with a family friend, and this guy's amazing. He's really good at making money, but he'd never coached a new agent. He had no idea what to do. I mean, he literally told me to pull out the phone book and start calling people. I kid you not. I spent my first 2 weeks just handwriting notes to people and stuff. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I remember I went to the back of a realtor magazine. They have this section where they have like ads in the back of the magazine. I don't know if they do anymore, but they essentially had these ads in the back of the magazine, and that's how I found training. I ordered these CD sets of just random people, and that's why I learned to do real estate. So I'm like, man, what I wouldn't have given like to go back and teach my 21-year-old self how I did this. And so I said, I'm going to come up with the 7 questions I think are the most important to help me. And then I'm going to interview the top 100 millennial real estate agents across the country. I'm going to put all their answers in the book. And then I went to a course with Dean Graziosi. That's how I got to know Dean, and how we've kind of started our relationship, friendship. And he taught me how to write the book. And I went to his mastermind. It was a high-end mastermind. Paid $20,000 to be at this. But he went through them as pretty much one-on-one and taught us exactly how to write the book, how to do the interviews, how to record them, how to then get them transcribed. So I did that, put it all together, and came out with the book, The Next Wave of Influence in Real Estate. And so the book actually got done in less than a year, all because I had the system. I just copied exactly what Dean told me to do,
right.
And used a couple ideas that Tim had given me, and voila, by September we had a book, hit Amazon bestseller list. It's fun because we've sold almost 6,000 books now. We sell over a couple hundred a week. And an average book in Barnes & Noble won't sell 1,000 copies. And so, we're using these same systems that Dean taught to even sell the book, which is, doing a lot of training behind it and a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of Instagram ads, stuff like that.
Swipe up,
get your book. So it's been cool, man. A lot of people tag me in it and share the book. They share what they're learning. And that means a lot to me because, again, when I started out, there was no training. Like, there's so much training now. Like, if somebody just grabbed, I do a 60-day challenge I'd give to agents where every day I send them a new video for 60 days. I have a course on social media. I have one coming out on luxury marketing. I have one coming out on networking. I have a mastermind that's 12 weeks. I teach everything I do. There's so much training available now versus like what was there when I started, that there's no excuse not to learn how to do it at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked about the 7 questions. What were the 7 questions that you came up with?
The first question was like, how did you get your first deal? I wanted people to kind of see that, sometimes you just stumble upon them. Sometimes you got to hustle for months before you get one.
Yeah.
Without the top of my head, but one of them was like, what are your marketing secrets? It was like one golden nugget you think of anytime you're down, or piece of advice. One was, what piece of advice would you give to other millennial real estate agents or new agents? One was your daily routine. Like, what does your daily schedule look like? And I have 1 or 2 more in there, but, and so I just wanted people to really, one of them was, what is your own personal investment strategy and how do you invest in real estate? Mm-hmm. And then my other one was around social media, like how do you use social media in your business?
Sure. So without like going over the entire book, what were kind of like so you did over 100, right?
100 interviews.
100 interviews, yeah. So what were kind of like the key takeaways, like the similarities you saw within these agents?
Yeah, and what I realized is every agent does it different. They really do, which is kind of cool. There's not any one right way to do real estate. Like, there's certainly things that are, more productive than others, but there's 2 things you have to do in real estate, no matter what. One is you have to make contacts. You have to get on the phone and make calls. Either you're getting leads from Instagram, you're getting them from Facebook, you're getting them from open houses, you're getting them from farming, or you're getting them from mail outs, you're getting them from your SOI or events, or whatever you're doing to get leads. You still got to call them.
Right.
So every day you've got to call them. You got to call prospects, you got to call leads. And then number 2 is the consistency. These 100 agents I interviewed, every single one of them was consistent. They're just consistent. Whatever they do it every single day. They do it consistently. They do it well. That's the thing that most people get lost in. Most people want to be at a certain place without putting in the effort that it takes to get there. And you see like somebody like me online right now, and you're like, okay, this guy's traveling and selling hundreds of homes. Like, how the hell? I want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, you did not see what I did for 8 years straight, dude. I literally locked myself in a coat closet in my office. I called my prospecting booth. I didn't have a chair. I didn't put my phone in there. And I literally made those phone calls every single day from 8 to 12. Minimum 8 to 11 every single day for 6-7 years straight. I did that. And I built my business, and I went through these times where I had to tell my assistant to hold his check. I couldn't afford to pay him. And I had to, I just watched family after family losing their house and going through hell. At one point in 2008, I listed 187 for sale by owners, and I think I actually sold like 15 of them. Like, it was so hard to sell a house. Now you take a listing, you can go cash the check, you can go spend the money, basically. In Utah at least. And but back then it was that hard. I had to call 50 sellers every single week that I had their house listed and try to get a price reduction. Try to tell them where their home, nobody was coming to see it. Mm-hmm. Every house you sold, you knew it was going to go down 20% still. So anybody that was buying, you had to be honest and be like, well, you can buy this, but I hope you're going to stand it for 5 or 6 years. Anybody that was selling, they'd probably put nothing down, and so they were all upside down 15 to 20%. So it's like, well, do you have an extra 50 grand you can bring to the table? Do you have credit cards? I mean, it was crazy. It was a wild time, and it was really hard. And so, the thing that people don't see is what I did. I didn't go out on a trip more than that lasted longer than 3 days for the first 8 years. I mean, and of all the trips, I bet 80% of the trips I went on were something around real estate training. Like I would save up my money so I could go to a 3-day seminar from Mike Ferry, or a 4-day weekend to go learn from Tom Ferry or something like that, or Brian Buffini or some of these other coaches that were out there. I was going to everything I could. The Keller Williams Founder Reunion events, and that's been kind of fun. I remember my first one, I went to being so intimidated. There's 13,000 agents, and these expert agents are selling hundreds of homes, and it's kind of cool. They asked me this year. I'm actually flying out tomorrow to Dallas. I'm speaking at the Keller Williams National Convention.
Oh, nice. Family reunion, right?
Yeah. And so it's kind of fun. It's all kind of come full circle. But people are going to see me on that stage and be like, oh yeah, that's the business I want. I'm going to teach them how to use Instagram to get leads. That's the thing I do best. What they didn't see is the 8 years of hell that allows me to now do that and do those things. So, you kind of have to, that consistency is the one thing I saw that all those agents did. Every single agent in that book is very consistent.
Okay, awesome. So you talk about marketing, and Instagram's your top one. So what are the top 2-3 lead channels that you're doing now?
Yeah, so number one is just the networking. So I have 3 groups of clients. I have my elite clients who are like the best. They always use me. If they find a house, they call me to write the offer kind of client, right? They're always going on their way to send me leads. Then I have my A list, who are like people I know, people that trust me, that we probably going to use me, but they're not necessarily out there throwing me leads all the time. And then I have my B list, which is kind of everybody else. And number one thing I do is I market really heavy to those first 2 groups, the elite and the A group. And I got about 600 people in those 2 groups between them. And I throw a client party every month. I put together investment deals every week. I send out on a top 10 mailer. I'm doing a ton of charity event with those people. I go out of town and do trips with those people. Before I came in for this interview, I just closed a house last week. My buddy Jason Harward just bought a $3 million house. He found the house. He called me, said, hey, I want to write this thing up. Put my name on it. You can do the math. Got a full commission on it. Well, I was just talking to his wife on the phone. We were trying to decide how to do a fun party for their housewarming party. Yeah. And what we decided was we're going to play Monopoly with real money. It's like we're each going to throw in a couple grand. Each person starts with $1,500. But because of that kind of stuff, so that's going to be their housewarming party. We're all going to bring around, obviously, buy-in, but we're going to have this really fun party with amazing people. I already know 2 or 3 of the people coming are going to be selling their home within the next year. One's a $4 million house. Another guy's looking at $1.5 million right now. These are the kind of people so we just create events and opportunities and really fun, cool experiences where we are binding each other, with these things. I just went in on a Mexican restaurant tequila bar in Vegas with 6 best friends. I'm going next Tuesday. We're going snowmobiling up at my buddy's cabin for the night. There's 8 of us going up there. Every single week, I'm looking for opportunities to build these cool experiences together. And because of that, you have raving fans. You have friends and clients that would never not use you. And it just creates a really cool atmosphere. My friends are. All of them can go wherever they want to buy real estate, but they know I'm an expert. They know I've worked hard. They know I'm going to do them right. They know they can trust me. So of course I become the logical choice. Of course they're going to use me. And, the part of that comes with just our friendship that we all have. We're trying to boo each other up all the time. We have this saying that friends support friends, and we always are trying to help each other's businesses any way we can. And so I just try to create that atmosphere as much as I can with as many tribes as I can. Last year I went to Lake Powell 4 different times with different groups of 30 or more people. We do these about every other month. We'll get about 15 of us together and go to a cabin or go to a buddy's house and have an adult sleepover for the weekend. We all just hang out and just have a good time. And you just create these little things, these opportunities to bind each other. And last year I sold Trevor, the guy that owns Nikola Motors. He bought the most expensive home in the history of Utah, $32.5 million. He basically bought a mountain range. And I met Trevor on a houseboating trip in Lake Powell 10 years ago, and we became best friends in Hawaii. He wanted to celebrate his birthday one year, and 30 of us went out to Hawaii for a week and stayed at his dad's place on the beach. And that's when me and Trevor became best friends. So I'm just, again, it's not necessarily a system, it's just a way of being, right? We're just looking for cool ways that creates a fun life, a cool way to live. And in the meanwhile, we all help each other and do a lot of business.
That's awesome. So I guess for someone who's starting out, maybe like we're playing Monopoly Money with pennies, right? Instead of dollars. What would you suggest for us? Maybe we don't have that network yet to like have these extravagant like going outs or have to eat like.
So and that's the thing that gets lost. They don't have to be extravagant. Like we used to pay $300 each to go to Lake Powell. I mean, we still do that. Like when we do the cabin thing, it's like $400 a person for the weekend, and that includes everything, the food and the snowmobiles and everything else. It doesn't have to be this crazy expensive thing, right? Just look for cool things to do. Go camping, go boating. You can rent a boat at Jordanelle for $1,000 for the day. A really nice boat. It's $100 a person. Get 10 of you and go have a fun day. You can sink the thing to the bottom of the lake and walk away. It's insured for $1,000. You know what I mean? It's like we overcomplicate it. I give some pretty big examples sometimes, but like at the end of the day, go get 4 buddies and go on a golfing trip to St. George for the weekend. Like that'll cost you $300, $400, $500. It's a fun way to live anyway, right? Or just get together and go do cool things. Like I throw events. I do a black tie gala every winter where we raise money for charity. I don't pay anything for that. It takes a lot of work to put it together, but I get 40 or 50 of my friends to chip in, either donating items, donating time, or donating the space, all these different things. And then we all get together and we have this beautiful night. We raise $150,000 for charity. We're all, that didn't cost any of us any money. We all just, we got some things for that, but so it doesn't need to be this big extravagant thing. You could even do it right here just for Friday night. Like just call a group of, like I do this like once every 6 weeks probably. I'll call 5 of my random buddies that don't know each other, and I'll invite them all to Topgolf for a night. And we all just go to Topgolf. They all meet each other. Like last time I did it, this guy that's in the National Speakers Hall of Fame, Dan Clark, met a guy that did the forward for his next book. And then like my buddy Jordan Pendleton, who's a huge fitness guy here in Utah, got a new person to train out of it. And that person, had been trying to reach out to Jordan. And then my other buddy wanted to get on this other guy's podcast, and he put that all together. And so I just look for opportunities to connect good people. It doesn't have to cost them money. Those guys all paid for themselves. I paid $45 for Topgolf, and other than that, I just set it up.
Right.
So just pick wherever. And you talked about, like with networking, I feel like there's about 10 levels, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And you can usually level up one at a time. Like you can reach out to somebody 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 levels above where you want to be, and you can get that person's attention. The mistake is if you try to reach up 10 levels at a time. Like if I try to reach out to Derek Jeter or President Trump right now, I'm going to get denied, right? But I have friends that I are connected close enough, 1 level up, that I can get their time and attention. So the key is to create that value no matter where you're at, and understand it's going to take you time. Like, dude, this took me 15 years to build the base of friends I have now, and it was constantly going and doing things together and creating experiences and coming from value. And so level up one time at a time. Who do you know that's just doing a little more than you, that's doing a little more than where you are right now, and go ask for their time and attention. Go create value for them, expecting nothing back. And you'll really, like, I had a thing the other day, and it kind of got, honestly, I didn't handle it the best way, but I had a buddy, I hadn't seen him in years, it was more of an acquaintance, and I ran into him at a restaurant, and we just got chatting, and I asked him what he's doing for work. He works for a tech company, he owns a tech company that markets to restaurants. And he's like, I heard you and your friends just opened a big restaurant. He's like, I'd love to meet you guys and talk about it. I was like, kind of like, yeah, all right, cool. And I was like, yeah, all right, whatever, if it's cool, In the same sentence, I said, what are you doing? And he says, I just bought a house. I'm like, well, who'd you use, dude? He's like, oh, I should have called you, And then about 2 hours later, he sent me a text message, and he's like, hey, I'd love to meet with you guys. And I was kind of like, or maybe just with me, but like, it just kind of like, that's how I saw it, right? And I just kind of was like, rubbed me the wrong way. I was still kind of buggy, didn't at least give me a chance to offer my real estate services. And I was driving, so I wanted to be quick with it. So I'm like, not really interested in meeting up, man. Like, why don't you at least call me to buy a house? And I wouldn't have handled it the same way, if I'm being honest. Like, I think he was probably more innocent, but it came off to me like he just wanted to meet my network. I'm like, dude, I spent 10 years building that network.
I see.
I'm not going to, they don't know you. I don't really know you that well. I can't trust that. And so I kind of blew him off pretty hard. Where I made the mistake is I shared it on Instagram. I was trying to get the idea across of like, hey, we should support each other. And this isn't, you don't just get to meet my friends because we kind of know each other. Like, that takes trust. That takes real trust, because I've had enough people screw over friends of mine when I introduce them. So I'm a little bit more careful about who I let into my friend circle. And that's part of leveling up my own friends, is I get asked all, like, I'm really close friends with Kyle Van Noy, New England Patriots middle linebacker. And I bet twice a month people try to go through me to get to Kyle. And I just blow them all off. Like, there's a reason me and Kyle still have a great relationship, because I'm never going to call him with one of those people or one of those favors. Like, if it's something that somebody wants, like they want like an autograph or something, I'll just buy one on eBay. Like I'm not gonna bug Kyle for an autograph. You know what I mean? It's not our relationship. And so you kind of got to protect those friendships, but you can level up one at a time, and you do that by coming from value. So if that dude at the restaurant, just as an example, if he had some kind of value before he just kind of dived into like how I saw it, whether I interpreted that correctly or not, I saw that as him wanting something from me without creating any value first. And so that to me was not a good relationship.
So that's kind of where I'm in the stage. I'm in the reaching up stage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some opportunities where I see like where I can add value, but other times like I kind of struggle. Like, hey, I mean, he's got everything right. How do I create that value play? Well, what would you suggest?
You got to get creative with it. I mean, you create value here. You have a podcast. I'm happy to be a guest on it, right? Like that's value to me. Like, sure, I can share that. There's opportunities there. But you got to get creative. So everybody needs something. This is my networking principle. It's your job to figure it out. There's nothing worse than somebody says, hey, I want to know you. What do you do? What can I help you with? I was like, I don't know your skill set. Like, what do you do? Like, figure it out. You know yourself. How can you help my life? I'm pretty public on Instagram and Facebook. Like, look at my life. And I'm a realtor. It's super easy. Send me referrals. Like, if you send me a real estate deal, you're in my inner circle. Like, it's pretty quick. You're going to get some good favor with me, right? So it's not that hard in most cases. It really isn't. But you got to get. So there was a guy in Utah a couple years ago. I really wanted to get to know. This is a good example, okay? And this dude, same thing. Like he's got everything. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. Already has every toy and experience in the world. He does whatever he wants. He has a million people that love him. And I'm like, what can I offer this person, you know? And I found out his son was playing high school football. And he was on a team, and I knew there was a lady in my office that would take pictures of the high school teams, and then people would hire her to go to the game and take the pictures of the team the whole game so they can watch the game.
Right.
So I hired her to go to that game, take pictures of their team and of that kid particularly. And I just emailed them to the dude, and I said, hey, I had a photographer at the game. There's a lot of these photos of your kids, and I figured you might want these. And he's like, oh my gosh, dude, this is the coolest gift anyone's ever done for me. Like that, thank you so much. And we became good friends, you know? And it was like, I went way out of the box, spent a couple $100 knowing that I might not get anything out of it. But I was able to create a value for him where he was like, wow, I really like that guy. Like he did something for me. And so, I don't know, you just got to everybody needs something more than you would think.
Right. No, that's awesome. So shifting back to real estate, we've been in a pretty awesome market for the last 6 to 8 years. Where do you think Utah specifically?
Last 10 years.
Where do you think Utah specifically is going in 2020? And then when are we over the peak and starting going down?
So here's the thing, there's so much more data nowadays than what we had even 10 years ago, 12 years ago when the market collapsed last time. Okay, there's so much data out there. There's so many ways you can really, if you look at the predictions that they've given, the smartest people, like the economists that are really digging into this, they've been very accurate for the last 3 or 4 years. The information is more accurate than ever. So I tend to trust smarter people than me. There's specific things you want to look at. Affordability is one of those things that you always want to look at. And that's where, you know, we could run into some issues as far as like pushing the market up. Affordability is a little bit of an issue in Utah, but we literally have, there's more job openings than people without jobs right now. It's the lowest unemployment in history. You've got all this wealth being created in the stock market. And here's the thing is the different now is every person that's bought real estate since 2010, they've had to put down 20% on an investment property. There is no bad investment properties out there. Everybody had bad investment properties before. Everyone put zero down, and they essentially were just hoping that the market would appreciate to make up for the fact that they were losing money on the cash flow. Well, now every single investor that's bought a home since 2009 has pretty much at least 20 to 50% equity. They all are cash flowing their properties. And so none of those things are coming into play. So is it going to slow down? Of course, it already has. And maybe the high-end stuff that got boosted a little more than it should have will start coming down a little bit. But if you look at the stats, you look at the numbers, there's no sign, there's not a single sign that shows that those lower properties under 400,000 or 500,000 are going to come down. I don't think they're going to at all. I think it'll level out eventually a little more than it has. But the predictions this year is that Utah, Salt Lake specifically, is supposed to appreciate 3 to 4%. I think that's directly accurate for 2020. I went and showed a house 2 nights ago up in Salt Lake for $600,000, $689, and it was like 2,500 square feet, and 9 offers on it. Like this thing is not slowing down anytime quick. Interest rates are going to stay down. Most countries outside the United States actually have negative interest rates, or they have 0% interest rates right now. I don't know if you know this. It's crazy. The bond yield in the U.S. is basically nothing. You basically lose money by buying bonds in the U.S. right now because interest rates are so low. And so they're only going to stay down. All the signs, especially in an election year, there's no way rates are going up. Everyone thinks they're even going lower than they already are. If they don't go stay flat, they'll at least go, stay flat right now. So all these signs point to a really effective market staying strong. You can still buy a house you can buy a house. Yeah, houses have gone up way too much, but rates are so low. You still, if you're buying a condo for $250,000 or a townhome for $250,000, just as an example, with a 3% rate, which is where they're at, it's like buying that same condo for $185 with a 6.5% rate when I started buying real estate. Mm-hmm. So even though the prices have gone way up, the payments have stayed actually decently affordable because of interest rates. So I'm quite bullish on the market for at least this next year. And it's, by the way, real estate is dependent upon so many different things, but a couple of main factors to look at. One is it's specific to location. Utah always lags behind a couple other states. The high-end stuff in California and a few other states has started coming down, minus Jeff Bezos just buying a $165 million house. But so you kind of that high-end stuff will probably come down a little bit. But overall, we're going to have a strong market for at least another couple of years. That being said, if a socialist wins the White House, all bets are off because everyone's going to pull their money out of the stock market, and who knows what happens with taxes at that point. And so as long as Trump stays in office for another 4 years, I think we'll have a really strong housing economy, at least in Utah. But if that doesn't happen, if maybe like again somebody else, who knows? All bets are off.
All right. So this is the business podcast. So let's talk about defense and vulnerabilities. So there's companies like Homey coming out here that are taking down traditional realtors with their low fees. How do you foresee that in the next 1 to 5 years? What are you doing to defend yourself against that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things with that. So there's always been flat fee companies. There's always been low commission companies. They've always come and gone. We've been in a bull market and they've done pretty well. They're a competitor. And if you look at it at anything less than that or anything more than that, you're kind of an idiot. Like they have less than 5% market share. So that means they're a decent sized brokerage. Keller Williams still sells a lot more homes than Homey does, like 10 times more. Maybe 20 times, I don't know. Bottom line is they are a very worthy competitor. Technology is coming. This is what I'm telling everybody. Like you need to adapt or you will be a dinosaur. Technology is coming. Do I think the ultimate model is Homey? No, because they don't give the service that you really need. They just don't. Everyone has a worse experience. You can talk to enough people. They have cases where it went perfect for people, of course, and that's the ones they highlight. But I don't think I've lost less than 5 deals to Homey my entire career. I had my best year ever by almost double last year, Homey's best year. So I don't look at them in any other way as a worthy competitor. They force me to be my best and to up my game, and I love that. Like every company has competition. Let's bring it on. Like the Jazz wouldn't be trying to get better and going out and getting Jordan Clarkson if the other teams all suck, right? They're trying to keep up with the Lakers and the Clippers. Like Magic Johnson, I went and heard him speak back in November. He came and spoke to a group of about 100 of us out in LA, and he said, without Larry Bird, there never was Magic Johnson. Because as much as I hated that guy was so good and worked so hard that he forced me to be the best version of Magic Johnson. And I just look at it that way. Tech's coming. There's some cities, there's cities in Texas and Arizona that have 7 or 8 companies that are better than Homey, that are getting a lot more market share than a company like Homey. Homey still depends on realtors. Their systems suck. They don't call the right agent to set up listings. They don't know how to negotiate. They got people working for a lot less there than they would if they were on their own. They're just realtors that can't make it on their own, go to Homey. And so it's like people get a worse experience and they know that. And so they're willing to pay less if they already have it figured out what home they want. But that's been in the best market. So I'm not afraid of a company like that. I do think those companies are coming. And in the next 10 years, we won't even recognize real estate as it is today. I think 10% of the agents will get 90% of the business when that all shakes out, because people won't need the average everyday realtor to go look at a home. There will be systems for all that.
They want the expertise.
Yeah, they want the most connected guy in town or woman, and they want the expert. They want the person that they know they can count on, that can get them the deal, that can find the right property, the one that knows how to find the best investment properties. There's always been that in real estate, and there always will be. But there's plenty of room for those companies. Like I said, if you look at Arizona or Dallas, over half the deals are going through other companies besides traditional realtors now. Utah's less than 5%. So we haven't even really seen it here yet. We haven't even seen what could be coming. And I just tell all realtors, the game's changing, so pay attention.
So what as we as realtors, what do we need to do in the next 5 years?
So build a moat around your network, right? Like I said, like the buddy of mine that just bought the $3 million house, he found it on his own. He called me to just write up the contract because he loves me as a friend. Like that's how all my relationships are. I get a lot of people want to work with my team because we look at ourselves more as consultants almost than we do as realtors. We sit down with every investor and we have a full game plan. I just got back from lunch with my buddy Richard Wilson. He used to play football at BYU. He was one of my closest buddies, and he goes, "Hey, I want to start buying real estate." So we set up a meeting. We'll have a 45-minute meeting, and we'll look exactly how much money he makes every month, how much he needs to put aside, what percentage he needs to put aside for investments, how often he should buy another property, what those properties need to look like, and we'll map it out for him for 10 or 15 years, a growth strategy. We'll be his real estate advisors and help him get into the right places. We can do that because between Tyler and I, we've sold over 5,000 homes. We know what to look for. So your job as a new realtor is to get as much experience as you can, to be an expert at everything you can. You need to study. Like that's why I don't ever think anybody should be a part-time realtor, because even if you spend all 25 hours, if you're a part-time agent working your butt off, you need those extra 10 or 15, 20 hours to learn the market, to learn the techniques, to learn the investment strategies, all these different things that a realtor like me has. Otherwise, your person is better off going with someone else than you. And so, I can honestly say my clients get a much better experience with us. We save them money, if not on the short term, on the long term, we always do. So I'm very confident as an agent going in and telling my friends, you're much better off using me than using something else or, like a homie.
Right. So where do I go to learn to study these markets? Just by like going out and experience, or is there?
Yeah, a lot of it's experience, but then it's, like every day, the first thing I do is I study every new home that hit the market. So I know exactly what homes are worth in every city that I'm working in. I know exactly what price per square foot they're going for. I know if they're a good deal. I can eyeball almost every house as I'm looking through it and tell if it's overpriced or not, almost every single time. And so when people ask me, like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. Like the house we did the other day, and it's funny, my buddy his mom passed away. We had to sell their house, and I did the numbers and I ran it. I told him exactly what we needed to sell it for. And he wanted to list it high. They wanted to get some more money out of it. And we ended up getting an offer about $8,000 higher than what I had told him as the number. And he put it under contract. The appraisal came back. It was the exact number that I had said. And we had to come down to that amount because they wouldn't come in. He didn't want to put it back on the market or hassle with them. So we ended up selling it for the exact amount. It was kind of humorous. Me and my other buddy, who's our other mutual friend, we were all laughing. Like, it was literally like, I pulled that CMA in 2 minutes and knew exactly the price it would appraise for, it would sell at. And so that only comes from being in the game. You've heard the rule, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. Well, it's the fact. So how quickly do you want to get to 10,000 hours? You can do that 40 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 70 hours a week, but you really got to put that time in to be an expert in your field.
Nice. That's awesome. So I think you probably covered it a little bit, but what would you say are the 3 to 5 things that just distinguish you from every other realtor out there, every other real estate company out there?
Yeah, number one is, again, my expertise. I've put the effort in. I've spent over $500,000 on training, coaching, seminars, all that kind of stuff. I study to this day more than anyone else I know the markets. My network is the best network in Utah, I think. I've worked hard for that network. I've surrounded myself with the best people, and so I can pull from that network. I have clients from that network, and then my marketing. I have a marketing mind. I study marketers. I sit down and spend hours with people that are excellent at marketing, and so the things that I do to sell homes. That's why Keller Williams is having me come teach their national convention about Instagram marketing. Agents are horrible at stuff like that, and I learned that because I went on a boating trip with Garrett G. He's the founder of the Bucket List family. I don't know if you ever were. They're a big online family. And anyways, long story short, he had millions of followers. And I sat there on a boat for 4 days as we were swimming with tiger sharks. And I racked his brain over and over about marketing. He's a wizard on marketing. And, I'm friends with a girl that's an Instagram model, and she has 2.5 million followers. You don't do that by accident. Those girls that have huge followings are geniuses. And I would sit there and talk to her about the secrets and the little things she would do, the collaborating she does, and how she did it all. And that's how I built my Instagram and how I started getting leverage. And then I go to video people, the best video people. I find out what they're doing. I reach out to people like Dan Fleischman. He manages over 600 different social media influencers, and he does all the campaigns for him. I see what he's doing, and I, just developed a friendship with him, and I've had multiple conversations with him on how to market. And so I'm always studying the people that are really good at it. It's like when I paid Dean to learn how to do the book, right? I paid $20,000 to learn how to do it right, because I want to learn from the best. Dean sold over 1 million of his books through YouTube and Instagram. I'm like, that's the guy I want to learn from.
Right.
He taught me exactly how to do it, exactly how to market it, and it works, And so I got another book coming out in about 3-4 months. I use the exact same system. We're going to do it again. And that book is for the masses. It's not just a real estate book. And so I think we can sell a couple 100,000 copies. Like, my buddy Sean Whalen sold over 400,000 books now. He forgot to put page numbers on the book. Like, the guy, but his marketing is genius. He knows how to draw an audience. He knows how to get people captivated with a cause. And so I'm just always trying to learn from people that are better at it than me.
Nice. So we're like the top tactics on Instagram. Should people focus on like just their personal and the business one? Do both?
No, you just want to have one. Nobody wants to follow you twice. Nobody wants to follow your business account either. And so people want to get to know you. You're a realtor, right? So you can use it. It's a tool to attract people to you. Like when I was calling for Sell by Owners, you're trying to pull people to you all the time. And that gets exhausting. It works, but it's exhausting, right?
Yeah.
So much more fun than that is you attract people to you. And so by using your Instagram to show people, people do business, people they like, know, and trust. You can do that so well with Instagram. Share your real life. Share what you're doing. Share your family pictures. But share you. Don't make it a meme account, or don't show a million pictures of your kid that you're not in. No one knows who the hell's kid it is. I mean, there's so many people want to get to know you. And so if you truly open up, get a little vulnerable, let people see all sides of you, let people see your life and go, you know what I like? I mean, you reached out to me because probably for my Instagram, I would guess.
Yeah, Instagram, and then you spoke at a couple of the RIAs. That's when I knew you, local celebrity Jimmy Rex. Randall calls you. So those are the two times that I've met you and known about you.
But because you follow me now on Instagram, you get to know somebody better. If I just give you a business card, you might never see me again. You don't know anything about me. But if we're following each other,
your epic houseboat.
Exactly. So
houseboat video.
So I even found a way. Like I was sinking my houseboat in Lake Powell 2 years ago, and I told all my buddies, I said, just keep filming. This thing's going down. We're at least gonna make a fun story out of it. We're insured. What the hell? Like I didn't want to sink the houseboat. Like other houseboat owners were pissed at me. Like you weren't even mad. I'm like, what? Would it helped if I was throwing chairs in the lake? I don't know. Like what are you supposed to do? But at the end of the day, I turned that into an opportunity to share a little bit, something hilarious. I ended up going over, it's had over 80 million views now, and so, but just looking for opportunities to share your life. So that attracts people to you. And then you use your Instagram stories to show people you're an expert. So I break down deals. I show closings. I talk about real estate. I talk about, having successful investments. Like I had a guy reach out to me the other day, sent me an email. He said, dude, I just want to thank you again. When we bought this house 7 years ago, we paid $165,000 for it. We just sold it for $310,000. I made as much money almost from this house over the last 7 years as I made being in the military.
Wow.
He's like, I freaking love you guys for life. And I'm like, how cool is that? I share that on my Instagram, right? And it's like, that's why we got into this in the first place. So you see all those stories, you see all those experiences, we share all that. And because of that, we get a really good, we get a lot of people interested in, that want to work with us.
Awesome. Well, hey man, it's been an awesome time here. If you have any last words of wisdom for the audience here, what would it be?
Goes back to that one word, man, consistency. Do anything enough times, get better and better at it, and you will become great at it. You'll get paid a lot of money to do that thing, but consistency is the key, whether it's Instagram or whether it's building a business, whether it's being a real estate agent, consistency.
Awesome. And if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, my Instagram, Mr. Jimmy Rex. I try to always answer every direct message on that. Eventually I get back to people. And Mr. Jimmy Rex on Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you doing this, and let's do this again sometime.
All right, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Later, guys.